I'm naked, everyone. It is Friday, September 20th. This is Throwing Light. I am LTJ Reeves, and if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. We have a really awesome special episode about naked people reading. Before I get into that, remember this was Throwing Light was a collaboration first inspired by Ashwell. I want to acknowledge Ashwell every episode. They help out our local community. Even if you don't live here in Austin, Texas, you can still learn about Asheville sexual health and wellness. And also, they have a food bank. So if you want to help our community, you can donate money or you can donate food. With that going said, let me talk to you a little bit about the naked people reading before I bring on my guests, Tank and Micah. The Naked People reading was actually started at the Velvet Casket by Joey Slane. I was actually invited to this Naked People reading, and Joey didn't like hosting, so I volunteered to host. And now, unfortunately, the Velvet Casket and the Glass Coffin closed down, and so Joey moved, and so now I am the new inheritor, the new daddy, I guess, or whatever. So I'm hosting this. We have Naked People Reading is essentially what it says, y'all. It's Naked People Reading. We're open to all people, all colors, all genders. We're going to talk a little bit about that in the show. But if you're interested in participating in a Naked People Reading or coming to one, just hold on. I'll give you more information about that. Pretty much in the comments, or I'm sorry, in the summary below this video, you can find out how to get tickets if you're in the Austin area. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead. I'm going to say hello to Tank and Micah. These are readers in the Naked People Reading, and they also happen to be trans men. So let's talk a little bit about first starting off with Tank. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Doing great. Okay, Micah, how are you?
I'm great, man. How are you?
Doing pretty good. So Tank, hey, I saw recently you're celebrating 14 years. Am I correct?
15, but yes, definitely.
Since freedom transition, right?
Yes.
So what's that, what's it like being 15 years as who you authentically are, as opposed to not being who you were?
It's still kind of new. I'm still kind of exploring myself, even though I'm 15 years into my transition. I'm sure a lot of trans people can relate to that period. Um, yeah, it's still a learning process, still even like 15 years in. Like I said, I'm still just exploring and learning new things about myself.
When
Yeah.
what was the moment that brought you to the point where you're like, you know what, I have to transition for my mental health, for my better state of being?
That's, and once again, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, is it was basically like do or die. I either had to make the transition, like make or start my transition, or I just wasn't going to be anymore type of thing, because it was just wasn't happy. None of that stuff. I was absolutely miserable, depressed, sad, just all of the above. So it's basically like do or die.
Oh, all right. So to go a little further, were you having suicidal thoughts?
Yeah, they weren't like super heavy, but it definitely was, for me, it was more than usual or more than ever period type of thing. So that's when I was like, ooh, okay.
Mhm. Michael, what was your moment where you felt that you had to take the step to be who you are in transition?
Yeah, well, for me, it's been 10 years. And I was dating this woman who was she was like a gender studies and like she was also a counselor. And she kind of helped me see some like dark circles, like dark energy I had in me. I couldn't relate to who I was before transitioning. And now I just feel, despite to Caden's point, like we're still learning and growing, right? But I feel a lot better. I feel like I'm at peace with myself and coming more to terms with who I am as days go by.
That's awesome. Kicking into it. So since you've transitioned, how did it affect your life post, having it
For me or for Caden?
for you? For you.
Oh, for me. It I was very fortunate to have supporting family and friends. I mean, it took my family a little bit, but they came around and they were wonderful. The transition, ironically, was mostly with my career, and I kind of just started seeing how generally men in the corporate world get treated so much more, or like with much more respect than with women. And that is actually what really kind of was just like, it just blew my mind a little bit, because obviously that happens generally. But to experience it firsthand, it was kind of messing with my head a little bit. So that was the only hard part for me. But aside from that, it's been a pretty smooth transition for me.
What has it been? Has it been smooth for you, Caden, Tank?
Yeah, overall, it's been totally smooth. I was actually talking with somebody recently about it being 15 years, and they had questions. And I've all my results and everything have always been normal and average. I've not had anything like messed with. I didn't go through super bad like second round of puberty. Aside from the voice cracking, that like it was a very smooth transition for me. So yeah, I couldn't be happier.
So, how do you feel in terms of trans men being represented in the community at large? And I'm talking about not just the leather community, as you know that I am a part of, Tank, as you're a part of. We're talking about as the greater community as a whole. How do you feel trans men representation is today? And I'm going to kick this question to you, Micah.
Yeah, I will say from a positive perspective, it's a lot better than it was 10 years ago. I do think that we're generally trans people are beginning to have more light and more, more representation in different communities. I do see that now versus 10 years ago where you almost had to hide it in some ways.
Do you feel that it's more prevalent? Is not I don't, and I'm not saying that's how I feel. Do you think it's easier to come out as a trans woman than a trans man?
Um, I can't answer that because I wouldn't want to answer that for trans women, but I do think it is easier for trans men to come out, which there's a lot of guilt factor for me in that too, because I want to be so protective of this community. So I do think it's a little easier for trans men in general, from my own personal
Is it
perspective.
that you're adapting that lifestyle, like to be? Is it just simply because you're becoming a woman and that's looked down more upon than becoming a man? Is that essentially what it is?
Um, at least with my personal experience was transitioning to who I identify as now. Uh, it, it was almost like I was given so much more higher respect. I was even, promoted in my company. Whereas I've seen some of my friends who are trans women, they were actually almost treated the opposite, where they were, if anything, one almost got fired. It was very, very interesting to see the differences in both genders for
So you
me.
transitioned in your role that you were in.
And yes,
Oh,
in
so
my previous company.
they treated you differently after you transitioned.
Uh, yeah, well, they treated me well. The company treated me well. They were fantastic. It was more when I would have to work with folks that didn't necessarily know that I transitioned, because it was a pretty big company. It was a good example was my department was all women except for me, and it generally the men would only come to me for, hey, how do we do this, how to do that, and they would completely dismiss women. So it was really interesting to see that, and it just kind of made me see a bigger world. And I can't imagine, I wouldn't put myself in a trans woman's shoes, but I can only imagine it may be the same way for them. They're just not treated as well, which I hope they would be.
Tank, what about your experiences? Do you find that trans men are well represented in the community?
Lately, I mean, I agree with Micah totally 100% that 10, 15 years ago, it was very few and far between trying to find any type of resources or information. So yeah, I think it's definitely the representation just in whole for the trans community has improved greatly in the last, 5 or so years, for sure, for sure. Yeah.
So let's kind of transition into the naked reading a little bit. Now, here we are. We have naked reading, naked people reading NPR, and so as if you come to the show, essentially we usually have about 10 readers. We have a little group that we stay in contact with, but anyone that wants to read is more than welcome to do that. You can reach out or whatever. Excuse me for a second. And so if you come to the event, we read, we have breaks, there's drinks there too. All it is, it's a $10 ticket. You come in, we provide drinks and the entertainment. And then we have a little after shindig over at the Austin Eagle. But like I said, I'll have more details about the specifics of the event. If you just check my Instagram, LTJ is here. That's a good place to find out about the event. Share it on there, tickets, things like that. There will be a Facebook event page. So like I said, just follow me. LTJ is here on Instagram. If you're in Austin and you want to attend the Naked People reading. With that being said, so what's it like for the two of you coming to this show every month, being able to stand as who you are, and read to people? And we don't have a set thing. Okay, so there have been themes in the past, correct, y'all? But we're generally moving forward with no themes. Like, you come and you read what makes you feel comfortable. Okay, it makes it so much easier on everybody else if you just come comfortable, because sometimes we can't find the genre or whatever. So it's whatever you read, and we read a variety of different types of content, things that make you laugh, things that make you cry, things that say oh, ah, all that above. Tank, going back to you, and you can answer this, and I'll go to Micah next. What's it like being a part of this reading series?
Me personally, it's euphoric for several reasons, not only as like a trans man being in front of total strangers 100% naked and displaying my body, but also in the sense that for someone who's a bit of an introvert like I am, getting up and reading in front of a group of strangers completely naked for 5 to 10 minutes is also very like liberating and, like I said, euphoric for me. So, but it's mostly just the fact that I can be up in front of a group of people and they can see me and be like, oh, that's what a trans body looks like, not opposed to like this or that. Like, there's so many different like views and bodies. So it's just another way for them to be like, oh, okay, that's another trans person up there, or yeah.
I just want to say that I think y'all are handsome. Y'all are beautiful people. I just want to say that. But by the way,
I appreciate that.
Very, very, very sexy people, and that's the good thing. Michael, what about you? What's it been like being a part of the series?
Yeah, well, so Kaden introduced me to, and I was really happy about that. And I think the first night I was like, "Oh, this is going to be intense," because for me, it's like all I would envision was being around cis men who, obviously very different body parts, etc. And all I would think in my head was, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to be seen so vulnerable with a group of individuals who may question or may not, or like, oh, what is that? But the second I got on stage, it was, or on the second I got to speak, it was just so empowering. I remember I was a little bit nervous, but then as I continued to read, I was just feeding off the energy of people just being so accepting and like just saying, hey, wow, this is what a man looks like. Doesn't even matter what, at least how I identify as a man. And I felt great. I felt wonderful just even talking about my vulnerable stories and how and the audience just receiving it with such grace was lovely.
For me, I got invited by Josh. And I wasn't, when I came, Joey was hosting. I thought that's what you do. And he mentioned that he didn't want to do it. But doing it the first time obviously is the most nerve-wracking, don't you think? Is because you're up there and you like, look, everybody's body
But
part.
naked.
So
Yeah.
but you know what I'm saying? Like, once you go out there and you do it, like I said, well, when I do the little blur, we're killing two birds with one stone here: the fear of public speaking and being naked in front of people. If you can do those two things, those are two of the biggest fears. Like, you know what I'm saying? Tank, what about like some of the content that you have read throughout? How many shows have you done?
I think I've done like 5 or 6 shows now. I've done quite a few. Yeah.
What kind of content do you normally read?
I tend to stick with more of the like fairy tale fiction type of stuff. I know when we were doing it the Velvet Casket, I kept it kind of dark and vampire-y, that sort of thing, just because it's more on themed with like the whole environment. And I know Joey loves that type of stuff. But it just depends. But it's mostly like fiction. This month though is going to be the first time I'm going to do something that's a little bit more like personal and deep, and I've actually wrote myself and will be reading, so it'll be a little different, like different case for me.
Have you not read something you've written before?
No, no, everything I have read has been something out of like a book. The first reading I did was a very personal book for my that I've read, that I've had since I was a sophomore in high school 20 some years ago. Um, but no, I haven't read anything I write. I don't really, I'm not a big fan of writing.
So when's the last time you wrote something?
Yeah.
Besides now, when's the last time you wrote something?
High school.
Oh, snap.
I used to write poetry and stuff a lot in like junior high and high school. I did poetry and all of that, but I kind of just like got away from it.
Michael, what kind of content do you like to read? Now, how many shows have you done, Micah?
Uh, I I think I've done three or four. I'd say maybe three, around three
Okay,
shows, I think.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm
And
at five too. I think I'm at five too.
oh, nice.
I
You
think
guys are
so.
beating me by two.
So, I know you come on theme nights and things like that, but what do you generally like to read when you read?
Yeah, I love to read personal experiences, whether it's sexuality or the way I like to heal certain triggers for me is to kind of just read them out loud. So why not naked in front of an audience, you know? And generally it is about personal experiences with dating, how I was prior to transitioning, how I am now, things like that, personal stories of mine.
I think the content I've read random things, I think, but we want to talk a little bit with you, Tank, about the new venue. Like I said, we were in the Velvet Casket. We switched to a new venue, correct? And it's Rodney and Jake's, whatever I forgot, like Queen Acres. So it's an outside venue. It's pretty cool. There's all kinds of unique seating. You go back there. We're in the backyard. It has like a little area. You're gonna love it. It's our new venue. Tank is we read for the first time last month. So we're gonna do this out. Now I don't know what's gonna happen when the weather gets cooler, y'all. We might change venues temporarily. The space that we have is really, really cool. So if you're in the area, we encourage you. Parking is a little tricky, but we have directions and explanations on how to do that too. And we encourage you to Uber or Lyft if you can. Um, so some of the reading that I did the past show, and I think it might be a little bit, I'm going through EMDR therapy right now. It is not fun. It is not a fun thing. It's very helpful. You know, they say I'm in the middle of it, but it's been a lot of child abuse. I was abused as a child, pretty severely as a kid, but I wrote this series called Lewis II that I've been re-releasing, and with the intent to write new episodes. With my sash and everything, I've been so busy, and I'm ready to kind of transition back to being able to do my art, my writing. But I've been reading parts of Lewis II. It's just about my life growing up with my dad and situations that might have been affected by having, abusive father. So, if, like I said, the content, we want everything to be personal. I'm going to mix it up. I am going to give you humor. But as I go through this trauma, I feel like I'm helping people by sharing this trauma and moving forward. And I think ultimately that's what the goal of the Naked People Reading is for us just to come together and support each other. And a lot of writing is writing about the traumas that we go through. Um, what's it been like when you get done with the reading? How do you feel, Tank?
The first time I was very relieved that it was done and over with, and I actually did it and didn't like, pass out or freak out on stage. But after this last time doing it now so many times, it's it's very satisfying, because it's kind of like it's a new group of people that come and see us every time too. I mean, there's a few like regulars, but at the end I feel very like satisfied and pleased with like, okay, I was able to present myself in a positive manner and present the trans community in a positive manner too, and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's very satisfying for me.
What about you, Micah?
Yeah, mine is very similar to Caden's, where the first time I was like, oh man, okay, I'm done. I'm out. You know? But then the last couple times, I it really it makes me feel so at ease when I'm up there now. I'm just like, this is me, this is me. If anything, this particular show or event has really healed certain parts of me, and I really love how empowering it has been making me come through with each show coming forward.
That's pretty cool. I the satisfied. I think I get what you're saying. It's like, I guess for me hosting, as you know, I have my routine. I don't get naked until I read at the end. And when I do it, I just feel like I'm doing it. I don't know. For me, I feel like if I don't do this, you know, who will? Like I feel like I have to stand there and say the things that I feel are honest as I can be. Because I guess to some degree, you know, that vulnerability is an empowering thing. And when people, what's amazing too is after we do shows and how the audience is with us, they also seem at ease. You know what I'm saying? I really noticed that this past show, as we got to close and read everything, they were so, I think that people enjoy the experience so much. They're so receptive to it when they're there, and
Mhm.
I'm really proud. I'm really, really proud that we were able to transition this and, you know, give a good shot last month. And, you know, we went through some navigating with interpersonal conflicts, but we're still here. So, you know, I think, you know, for this is the first project or event that I've been involved in that I just saw this big possibility of having so many different body types and representation and being able to transition and impact so many different communities. Naked is a universal thing. And I just don't see how it cannot be possible as to have every type of person participate in this at some point in the future. You know what I'm saying? And you know, like this is not, you know, as much as this is being machined and powered by the queer community, we want our allies there too. Like,
Mhm.
you know, you're more than welcome to come to this. If you ain't got a problem with us, we ain't got a problem with you. Correct? Correct.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So this is the deal. We're getting towards the end of my show. Now, since this is your first time being this, I don't know if you're watching again. I always ask a question at the end of the show to my guests, in which they have to answer. And I want you to think about it when I ask you the question. It's the same question that I give everybody. And I'm going to start back with you, Micah. Is there anything in the community that you feel we are not shedding enough light on? And it doesn't have to be
Uh,
related to the trans experience.
um, I I think the inclusive. I want to maybe say the first thing that comes to my mind would be I do believe that trans folks are getting a lot of great praise now, and I love that. But I think specifically for non-binary folks, I think there's I think they do need a whole lot more weight from us as well to help them and support them as much as they're supporting us too. Because there's so many of them, and I think that's my answer to that question.
That's cool. Yeah, yeah. I have non-binary siblings from my other family. They're for IML, and we're always causing on how to, we don't say brothers, we say siblings, unless we are talking to a
Mhm.
brother. Um,
Right.
so it's a thing, and what I see is I like to see people ask questions or if they're corrected, be okay. But I do sometimes see the frustration of having to tell people that these are my pronouns. Please refer to me as is. And it's a respect thing. I think if you introduce your pronouns to somebody and you tell them that, that should be the only time you should have to tell them to do that. And they should do that.
Right. Yep.
So,
Agreed.
what about you, Tank? What's something that you don't think we're shedding light on?
Um, Well, I mean, I agree with Micah, and empowering our non-binary siblings. Another one is just the local community too, empowering each other, like supporting local performing artists, and it doesn't have to be drag it or anything. It could be reading events, poetry. There's a ton of local artists that paint and do all that stuff. So I think it's a lot of just like empowering our local community too, because that's where it starts from, is local, and then it grows bigger from there. So I think it needs to start local and go from there. Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, we are towards this episode of Throwing Light. I am so glad I got an opportunity to not only showcase YouTube people, but the naked people reading. We hope this thing grows huge. Now we have limited tickets to this event, y'all. I'm not going to tell you how many tickets we got. It'll tell you how many are left when you purchase. So all the details for the show. Here's a few more details that you can know. The show for Naked People Reading is going to be Friday, September 27th. Doors open at 8 p.m. The show starts at 8:30. It is $10 for the ticket. Once you purchase your ticket, it'll tell you how to get to the venue and all that, whatnot. We do provide drinks that are sponsored by the Austin Eagle. You may purchase those, and you may donate if you like. Once the show is over, we always have an after party over at the Austin Eagle. If you are interested in coming to the show, the ticket link is going to be down at the bottom of this video. Please, please, please get your tickets as soon as possible. Tickets will be sold up until the day of the show. There will be a cutoff, but typically we have a limit of what we can do. And if there are some tickets left, we will let people in. Other than that, if you have any questions, please reach out to me, LTJ Reads, aka Louis Tolliver Jr. I am the new host and I guess the one running this event now for the Naked People Reading. Reach out to me if you want to be a reader or if you have any questions. With that being said, I have this new thing that I want to do now, y'all, where every guest I have come on the show. I'm going to repeat my tagline for the show, and then we're going to say it together. Are you ready? I'm going to say it once, and we're going to say it together. It's just this simple. If you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. Are you ready? One, two, three. If you're not throwing light, you're not acting right.
You're not acting right.
Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. But this is going to be the new thing. We're going to get used to saying this. Y'all, with that being said, I am so glad to have done this show and be able to show you the different ways that we can celebrate our bodies and celebrate who we are, and in intelligent ways and helpful ways. We all come on this earth. I'm sorry, we're all born out of the womb naked. Everything we do is drag. It's just not what they do in the bars. This is drag. Even my beard is drag sometimes. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching the show, this episode, and I will see you next time. Bye. Bye, Tank. Bye, Micah.
Bye.